What's happening, everybody? Here, Jeff Lightsy Jr. here with the Black Boss Channel, the Ball Sports Network. I've been missing for a little bit, man, but there is a lot going on in the sporting world, particularly in the NBA. And I'm here today to tell you why some of the moves that have been made this offseason in the NBA has made some teams better, has made some teams worse. But regardless of all of that, as of right now, as things are currently constructed with the NBA, the team that benefited the most is the Los Angeles Lakers. They are the team that will repeat as champs. And here is why. I'm going to tell you why the Lakers are going to repeat as champs. They went out, they lost Dwight Howard. He's going to Philly. They lost Rajon Rondo. He's going to Atlanta. They lost Avery Bradley. I think he's going to the Heat. Those are three significant losses. I'm not going to act like those losses aren't big. I'm not going to act like those losses don't mean anything. We saw playoff Rondo show up during the playoffs, especially in the NBA Finals. He at times, for a vast majority of the playoffs, was the Lakers' third best player. Like, let's not even act like he wasn't. I mean, he was vast majority of the time the third best player on the Los Angeles Lakers roster during the playoff time. Now, here's the thing. Rondo's leaving. He had to get his payday. Atlanta was giving him $7.5 million a year, $15 million over 2 years. You can't turn it down, man. I don't blame you. I get it. Go get your bread. I'm just glad it didn't sound with the Clippers. But you replace Rajon Rondo with Dennis Schroder, who essentially is a younger, better shooting version of Rondo. Off the bench, he finished second place in Sixth Man of the Year. Schroder is a beast. He's a dog. Then you lose Dwight Howard. Okay, that sucks, man. Dwight Howard is a big loss. You know, he played good at times during the playoffs. But you replace him with the Montrezl Harrell, the Sixth Man of the Year. So now you have the Sixth Man of the Year, who've won first place, and second place Sixth Man of the Year added to a NBA champions roster. Now, with an aging LeBron, but he's still LeBron. And with the Anthony Davis, who now is going to play the most free of his career because he is a champion. He is an all-time great talent, an all-time great player who now has a championship. That's the thing about all-time great players. When they get that first ring, they play better. Kobe, Shaq, Jordan, Hakeem, Tim Duncan. What happened when most of those guys won their first championship? What did they go out and do? They went out and won another championship. And this Lakers roster is primed to do just that. This is going to be a special team this year. Now, I don't want to just focus this whole entire video on the Lakers because there's been a lot of mixing and matching between teams. Now, I really love what the Lakers have done during this free agency period. But there's another team that has really made some moves, and that is the Philadelphia 76ers. What have the Sixers gone out and do? They went out and added shooters. See, here's the thing. Here's the thing about people that are good at their job or that are good at what they do. They're good immediately. It doesn't normally take them time to become great, right? People that are born great or people that are great at doing something, they're normally just great off the jump, right? So, think about it. Like people that are good at making apps and stuff, guys like Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos, these guys have been good like from the jump. Zuckerberg created Facebook in a college dorm room. I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie The Social Network. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies because he created it just like the guys, the little twin dudes came up with the idea, but they couldn't put it together. And Zuckerberg was like, man, that idea is a good one, but it's not. I can make it so much better. Like, I can make it so much better. So what I'm going to do, boom, I'm gonna create the social network. And that's what he did. Bezos, boom, just created it. Elon Musk, boom. Like, just these great people are really good at what they do from the jump. And that's what Daryl Morey is. Daryl Morey down in Houston brought analytics to basketball. He's like a genius, right? Like, people will get hate on analytics and all this stuff. And it can get whitewashed a little bit. Like, he can get overplayed a lot at sometimes. But analytics at the end of the day, like, you have to pay attention to it. And so Daryl Morey is so good at what he does, right? He's so good at what he does that he leaves Houston because he saw it was a dead fish. It was like beating a dead horse. There was no way you were going to get any better down in Houston. So what does he do? He goes up to Philly, right? He goes up to Philly, and Philly, who's been screwing this up, wasting away Ben Simmons' talent, wasting away Joel Embiid's talent, wasting just pissing off a great fan base that's up there in Philly. They just been screwing it up for years. It was the first thing for years. It was trust the process, and all they did was draft 10 forwards and a bunch of guys that couldn't shoot. And then they had to get rid of all those guys. And then Elton Brand comes in, and he's not getting stuff done. So now they're like, all right, Elton Brand, we gave you a shot, and now I always root for the black folks. Black folks in high positions in sports is hard. And Elton Brand, he had a shot, but he was screwing it up too. So what does Daryl Morey do? Because once again, he's really good at his job. He comes in, boom, gets him 2 shooters. Danny Green, Seth Curry. From the jump, gets it. Gets rid of Al Horford's contract. Get out of here, Al Horford. You ain't getting a job done. So that's what great people that are really good at what they do, they make stuff happen. And that's exactly what Daryl Morey did up in Philly, and they have become a better team because of it, right? I think the Lakers are leading in free agency. I think they're winning right now. But I like what Daryl Morey has done. Somebody said the Blazers got DJ. I think that was a good pickup. That was a solid pickup. The Blazers also went out and got Enes Kanter, right? Like the Blazers went out and got Enes Kanter. I think that makes them better too. They have a lot of big dudes though. I'm not gonna lie. Like you got Hassan Whiteside, you got Nurkic, right? You got the guy from Gonzaga that you drafted a couple years ago. And now you got Kanter, which Kanter worked. He didn't work in Boston. He worked really well over in Portland while he was there for his short stint. I think he averaged about 14, 15 points a game. But you had Zach Collins is his name from Gonzaga. So you got a bunch of guys in there. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I really like what Milwaukee has done. The Milwaukee Bucks in free agency have done really well. And here's the thing. Milwaukee they have to do anything to try to keep Giannis by any means necessary. You cannot lose Giannis Antetokounmpo for nothing, right? And you have to do everything in your power. You're in freaking Milwaukee. You have to do everything in your power to keep your star happy. So what do? You go out, you overpay for Drew Holiday, but forget it. You ain't got nothing else to lose. Because if you lose Giannis, losing 3 first rounders ain't gonna be nothing compared to losing Giannis. You losing the franchise. So you go out, you overpay for Drew Holiday. You go out and get Bogdan from the from Sacramento. They were wasting away his talents over there. He's a really good player. See, a lot of people don't know about Bogdanovich. He is a good player. He was just cast astray in Sacramento. Sacramento also overpaid for De'Aaron Fox, which I like De'Aaron Fox, but $163 million for De'Aaron Fox is crazy. Like that's way too crazy. But regardless, so you have to do everything in your power to keep Giannis happy. And guess what? If Giannis re-signs that Supermax, or if he just re-signs in general, those 3 first rounders are going to be worth anything anyway, right? Like they're going to be a back of the first. They're going to be a back of the first round. And you're going to be going deep into the playoffs, hopefully making an NBA Finals or 2. Don't know if you're over the top, right? Don't know if you're over the top. But Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Bogdan, Giannis, that is a nice squad in Milwaukee. It's a pretty good team. It's not better than the Lakers, but it's a good team. And here's another thing about the Lakers signing to Montrezl Harrell. Trez didn't play that great in the playoffs. I'm not going. I can't defend it. I'm a Louisville guy. For y'all who've been watching me, I love Louisville. I love Louisville players. But Trez didn't play that great in the playoffs. He struggled. He struggled greatly against Jokic. He didn't play that great over Jokic. they chose Kanter over Softside. Yeah, they didn't choose Kanter because he's a better fit for him, and his Kanter works for them. But as far as he didn't play that great against Jokic, because here's the thing: when you play with LeBron James, you become a better player. You become a better player. Ask Anthony Davis what it's like playing with LeBron James. Ask Rajon Rondo. Ask KCP, who got $40 million after playing with LeBron James. Ask those guys. You become a better player. For all the LeBron haters, I get it. I know it hurts your soul that LeBron makes guys better players, but the facts are what they are. You play with LeBron James, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go to the finals. You're going to go to the finals. You're probably going to win your ring, and you're going to get paid. Rajon got paid. KCP got paid. AD was going to get paid regardless, but he got paid again. So that's what happens when you play with LeBron James. It's just those are the facts. He got Tristan Thompson paid back in the day. He got J.R. Smith paid back in the day. Like that's what happens when you play with an all-time great player. My GOAT, that's what I call him, my GOAT. So it is what it is. But Those are some of the things. Now I'm gonna talk about some of the other free agent moves. And the biggest head scratcher to me is a lot of y'all's GOAT. He made another bad decision. Mr. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Michael Jeffrey Jordan paid $120 million to sign Gordon Hayward away from the Boston Celtics. Gordon Hayward, a 2020/2021 version of Gordon Hayward, is going to make $30 million playing in Charlotte. Y'all can't be serious, man. Y'all go. Michael Jordan did this. Is he serious? Shout out Terry Rozier. Once again, a Louisville guy. Y'all know I love me some Louisville guys. But the Charlotte Hornets let Kemba Walker walk. Let him go to Boston. They didn't want to pay him. But instead pay Terry and Gordon Hayward a combined $47 million per year, but let Kemba Walker walk. I can't make this up, y'all. Charlotte only been to the playoffs 3 times the last 15 years. And one of those reasons is because of Kemba Walker. Goat James. You're right. You're damn right, Goat James. He's that good. But Charlotte's went to the playoffs 3 times in the last 15 years. And one of those times was because Kemba Walker led them to the playoffs. And you go out inside a 2021 version of Gordon Hayward for $30 million. That just doesn't make that almost screams like something about that is racist. like something about Kemba Walker getting $30 million in 2021 is like racist, man. Because when he turned down $34 million, I was like, somebody's gonna pay him a whole bunch of money because there's no way in hell this man is turning down $34 million guaranteed if he don't got a plan that somebody's gonna give him that bag. Somebody said this is white privilege. It is white privilege. You're damn right, because there's no way in hell, no way Gordon Hayward should be making $30 million. But y'all go. Michael Jeffrey Jordan paid that man $30 million to come try to run ball with LaMelo Ball. I don't know how it's gonna work. They got rid of Batum, who they were paying $27 million a year. I saw there was this tweet. I think Worldwide Wobe, his name on Twitter, he put out this tweet about like these really bad contracts that were on the books as of today. I think they got rid of one, but as of today, there's some really bad contracts on the books for the Charlotte Hornets. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. These contracts, man, they make me laugh. Like they're that bad. Let me see if I can share my screen because that's the only way. It's the only way you're gonna be able to really understand what I'm talking about right now. So if you could see my screen right now, these are the contracts that are on the books currently for everybody except Nicholas Batum. These are the contracts on the books for the Charlotte Hornets right now. You got Gordon Hayward making $30 million a year. They cut Nicholas Batum, but they're going to stress. They still got to pay the man. His contract, NBA contracts, guaranteed, fully guaranteed, especially when you're a big baller like this. $27 million, so they're going to stretch that to try to save some cap space. They cut Nicholas Batum, but he was scheduled to make over $27 million a year. You got Terry right here at $18, almost $19 million a year, and Cody Zeller, $15 million a year. Just had to type this. The man said just had to type this out so I can see it with my own eyes because it doesn't make any sense, y'all. It doesn't make any sense. You're paying. I mean, look at these deals. These are horrible. Just for a team, the best the Charlotte Hornets can do. This is the Eastern Conference, right? Charlotte is in the Eastern Conference. The best they can do with this roster, plus LaMelo Ball and PJ Washington and Devontae Graham, a guy who was, I think he was either undrafted or drafted late in the second round. The best they can do with these guys, plus LaMelo, PJ, and Devontae Graham, is lose in the first round of the playoffs. That's the bet, but they're paying these guys 30, 19, and 15. Michael Jordan, oh my God, he ought to be ashamed of himself for that. I mean, that is horrible, horrible. They've had the worst offseason so far. Besides getting LaMelo, who I think has the most upside in the draft, they have been absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. Someone asked, what do you think about Adams going to the Pelicans and OKC stacking picks? So I like what OKC is doing because OKC, if you guys don't know, has 17 first-round picks over the next 6 years. They have 17 first-round picks over the next 6 years. Now, here's the thing about having a bunch of picks like this, because Boston had something similar. They didn't have this many picks, but for years, Boston had a bunch of picks because Brooklyn, when Prokhorov was the owner, I hope I don't bore you guys, but I just want to go down this really quick. When Mikhail Prokhorov was the owner of the Brooklyn Nets years ago, he traded for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett for a whole bunch of future first-round picks. The Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce deal was horrible. Brooklyn was in the lottery, top half of the lottery every year. That's how Boston was able to get Jason Tatum, even though they made the playoffs. They got him at number 3. They was able to get Jaylen Brown at number 3, even though they made the playoffs. And like they were able to get Marcus Smart in the top 10 because even though they were a playoff contending team, and they were able to do all that because they got all these picks from Brooklyn. Now, OKC is going to have something similar because they traded Paul George to the Clippers and got like 5 picks. They traded Chris Paul and flipped him a couple. They traded for Chris Paul and traded away Chris Paul for a couple first-round picks. So a couple of these teams they got these picks from aren't going to be as good as they plan to be, right? Like that's just how the NBA works. You think you're going to be one way, you end up not being as good. So a couple of these first-round picks are going to end up being like high lottery, especially with the way the lottery is now. Remember, if you don't know, the NBA changed their lottery system. So now if you're like at the 8, 9, 10 mark, you have a better chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. Remember, that's how the Pelicans got Zion. The Pelicans had like the 9th best chance to get the number 1 overall pick, and they ended up catapulting all the way to number 1. So some of these picks are going to end up being like a couple of these picks are going to end up being like a top 3, top 5, maybe the number 1 overall pick for OKC. So what OKC has to do, because free agents don't sign to go to OKC, like that's just not how it works. Same with Charlotte. They don't sign to go to Charlotte unless you overly pay. You know, Charlotte overpays for B+ players or B- C+ players in some cases. We just saw those horrible contracts they're under on their books. But so what they have to do is they're going to have to package some of those picks at some point and go out and trade for a superstar who wants to get out of the situation. That's what Boston didn't do. That's where Boston screwed up. See, Boston may have had themselves a title like what Toronto won, or may have been at least been in the finals by now if they would have did what Toronto did, or if they would have packaged some of those picks and go out and get Anthony Davis. See, because if they would have got Anthony Davis, they would have been in the finals. Hell, they might have won the championship. They would have been better than the Miami Heat with those guys and Anthony Davis. But see, they didn't do that. They wanted to keep Jaylen Brown, and they wanted to keep these picks, and they wanted to keep all this stuff. And that's cost that now their window's closed because Brooklyn's in the house. Brooklyn, Kevin Durant's in the house, and they might go out and get James Harden. Miami is no slouch, and now Milwaukee's gotten better. So now the Eastern Conference is tough, right? Like now the Eastern Conference ain't up for grabs like it was for years. And now you have legit finals team, like teams they're going to compete for the finals, and that's where Boston screwed up. So OKC can't be like Boston. Don't be like Danny Ainge, because let's stay on Boston for a little bit, because not only did they screw that up, right? Like they didn't trade any of those picks to get Anthony Davis when he was on the market. Paul George was on the market at one point. Remember that? Kawhi Leonard obviously was on the market. You could at least bought these guys for, even if it was for 1 year, take your shot to try to win a championship. That's what Toronto did. They gambled on themselves and it paid off. It won them a championship. You know, Miami gambled on itself. They went out and got Jimmy Butler. It paid off. It took them to the finals, right? And Boston never did that, and that's why they're stuck, and I don't know if they'll ever make the finals, even though they have really good players. But they screwed up. So what OKC, to answer your question, what OKC has to do, they can't be like Boston. They got to package some of those picks and go, because there's going to be a disgruntled superstar. That's how the NBA works. The superstars get disgruntled. They want to get traded. They want to get out of here. This year it's James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Last year it was Anthony Davis, even Jimmy Butler. Every year there's a superstar that wants to get out of his contract, off his team, something like that. So what OKC is going to have to do is package some of those picks and go out and get the next disgruntled superstar. They're going to have to draft well, but that's what Sam Presti does. That's one thing he does well. He drafts really well. They're going to have to continue to draft well and package some of those picks and go out and get the next disgruntled star to try to make some noise in the Western Conference. That's what I think they have to do. I think it was smart to move off Steven Adams because he's what we consider a dinosaur in today's NBA. When you're a big at 7 feet and you can't shoot and you don't have a handle, you're just like a rebound, block shot defender. You're what we call a dinosaur. Hassan Whiteside, Nerlens Noel, Steven Adams. When you're like that, you're a dinosaur. It's hard to play with you in the modern NBA simply because all the modern NBA, the stretch, there's this positionless basketball, that's what they call it. And guys got to be able to shoot. If you can't shoot, you got to be able to handle a little bit. If you can't handle, you got to be able to shoot a little bit. If you can't do either, you're a damn dinosaur. It's time to move on. Somebody was saying that the smaller market teams has to cut the check. I mean, that's true. They do have to cut the check. I seen one thing where they said they paid Gordon Hayward the what do they call it, the Charlotte tax. They basically said you have to pay $5 million over market value to get Gordon Hayward to come to Charlotte. What I say to that is, don't sign no damn Gordon Hayward. I mean, it's just that, like, if you're gonna cap out at the first round, then don't sign a Gordon Hayward. Like, just don't do it. Do not do it. Do not do it. To go back to what I said earlier about people who are good at what they do, are good at their jobs, you notice right off the bat. Another example of that is David Griffin down in New Orleans, right? So New Orleans is a smaller market, as you all will know. They got lucky. They got the first overall pick. They traded Anthony Davis. They got a boatload in return in Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, two number 2 overall picks. You got a really good player in Josh Hart. And so you're making stuff shake now in New Orleans. Now what you do, you build around Zion. I think you have to continue to get shooters, continue to collect assets to try to make that team better. I'm not sure how Steven Adams makes it better yet. I guess he covers up a little bit for the lack of defense that Zion has. But I like what David Griffin is doing because he is someone, once again, that's really good at his job. Let's get back into this free agency stuff. So let's look at some of these other teams who have made some moves. Oh, outside of free agency, let's talk about the Klay Thompson injury. Klay Thompson, that hurts. That hurts Golden State. They're gonna be back in the lottery. Without Klay Thompson, the Warriors will be back in the lottery, and it makes me sad because I was really looking forward to the Splash Bros coming back with Draymond and with the young, talented James Wiseman, a force in the middle, a guy who I think he won't be a dinosaur. And here's why James Wiseman won't be a dinosaur. I don't think people got to see him enough in college. Obviously, he only played in the 3 games after the NCAA screwed him over. Oh my God, they screwed him. They screwed him over so bad, all because the man moved from Memphis to that. Like, who gives a damn? Like, yeah, Penny might have paid. Like, Penny paid for the man to move. Penny wanted him on his AAU basketball team. So, just quick backstory: James Wiseman is from Nashville. He's from Nashville, Tennessee. Penny Hardaway at the time was a high school basketball coach, and James Wiseman was the best player, not in Tennessee. He was the best player in the damn country. He's the best player in the country. He's a couple hours up the street in Nashville, and Penny Hardaway was like, look, man, I run this great AAU team. I run a great high school program. I want you on my AAU team and my high school program so we can win championships and so more kids will want to come play for me. So I'm going to pay because I'm Penny Hardaway, Lil Penny, Air Penny, all-star, NBA all-star, all-time college great player, a great NBA talent, one of the best NBA talents to ever touch a court. I want you to come play for my team, and I'll pay for you, your mom, or whoever needs to move from Nashville to Memphis so we can make that happen. So he does it because obviously that's not illegal in high school, I guess, or whatever. But the NCAA knows all of this. Like, they never made it a secret. And 3 games into the man's career, they're like, oh, you took money from what's considered a booster, and you cannot play because Penny is now the head coach of Memphis, and he donated to Memphis before all of this happened. He was a donor to the Memphis basketball program, and now he's considered a booster. So they screwed James Wiseman. But regardless, I'm saying all this to say this. James Wiseman is a tremendously talented player. Tremendously. He has a handle. He runs the floor like a gazelle. He is crazy athletic. He is 7 feet with a 7'6" wingspan. Him with the Splash Bros was going to be special. But now we're missing one of the Splash Bros, and so this team is not going to be the same. Klay Thompson, his career is never going to be the same. I hate to say it, but Klay coming off of ACLs, as we obviously know, you can recover from. Like, ACLs at this point are like broken fingers. Like, it's just You come back, some guys come back stronger and faster than ever. It's kind of crazy. But the ACL we knew. But this Achilles is different. An Achilles injury is way different. An Achilles injury is tough. And one thing about Clay, see, the thing about Clay, though, he's a shooter. You'll always be able to shoot. Shooting will never go away. But it's not just the shooting. It's the fact that he is a great two-way player, what we call two-way players in the NBA. And his defense won't be the same. ACL in one leg, Achilles in the other, his lateral quickness will not be the same. He will not be the same defender when he comes back to the league, and that's what sucks. That's what's going to hurt the Warriors. And the fact that the Warriors are probably going to be a lottery team again without Clay also sucks. And Steph's only getting older. And we know he's injury prone. So we'll have to wait and see with the Warriors. Be sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button down below. Comment, like we're doing a live. We're doing Q&A almost. Just talking about NBA free agency. Leave some comments of what you want to hear, what you want to talk about. But be sure to hit the thumbs up button, though. And so let's get back into some of these free agency moves, see who else is on the move. So they're talking about the Bucks and might have did some tampering with Bogdan. Oh, a really cool move, a smart move. Not really going to change much, but a move that I like was the Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors re-signed Fred VanVleet, $85 million, a good deal for a good player. That's a really good deal for a good player. And it's the most money ever given to a player who wasn't drafted. So that's really good for Fred. Fred went out and earned it. We saw Fred was a dog when they went out and won the championship in 2019. Fred was a beast, like out of Wichita State. I remember seeing once again, as you guys don't know, I'm a Louisville fan, and we played against Fred VanVleet in the Final Four back in 2013. He was a dog back then. He's been non-drafted. He wasn't drafted. He went undrafted, and he's been in the league. He's been a dog ever since. So I'm really glad what Fred's doing. $85 million is a pretty good number. It's a high price, but hell, that's what you got to pay. I mean, Gordon Hayward's out here getting $30 million, y'all. Like Fred VanVleet can get 20 after he averaged 17 a game. I really like what Fred VanVleet's been doing. See, what is the Cavs going to do? The Cavs are going to suck, man. Like the Cavs are not good. And this is the thing about Cleveland. Cleveland sports. The history of Cleveland sports hasn't been good. Luckily, they were blessed to have a man by the name of LeBron James to be born in their state, and he kind of saved them for a very long time. But the thing about the NBA draft is a crapshoot, right? Like it is a crapshoot. But sometimes you can just get lucky, shake it up, and throw your dice, and you land on a Damian Lillard, right? Like you land on like shake it up, throw it up, and Steph Curry falls in your lap at number 6 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes that happens. But most of the time, a lot of the guys, like go back and look at the history of especially top 10 picks of the draft. A lot of them are bust. Most of them are bust. A lot of the players, the best players in the league, or some of the players that make up some of your favorite teams, like a Steph Curry or Klay Thompson for the Warriors, or even Draymond Green, or like Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet over in Toronto, or Jimmy Butler, Miami, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. Like these guys weren't even top 10 picks. These guys weren't top 5, top 3. I mean, besides LeBron and AD out in LA, most of the teams are made up of guys who kind of overperformed, right? Like that were underdrafted and overperformed. The Cavs get these top 10 picks every year, these top 5 picks every year, and they miss every time. They freaking miss. They never hit. Like Darius Garland looks like a bust. He was the worst rated player in the NBA last year. Look it up. Per minute, Darius Garland, who didn't play 5 minutes of college basketball because he got injured, was the worst player statistically in the NBA last year. Look it up. Then the year before they drafted, first of all, they keep drafting these miniature players. What the hell? Well, what are you going to do with 2 guards under 6'3"? Like you draft Colin Sexton one year, and then you draft Darius Garland the next year, the worst player in the NBA statistically. And both of them are, I mean, at least if you're going to be a bad player 6'6". Damn, be a bad player 6'8". Right? You draft 2 players who aren't any good as under 6'3". Like that helps nothing. That's what's wrong with the Cavs. Where do I think Westbrook's going to go? Westbrook's going to end up on a bad team. There were talks about the John Wall for Westbrook in Washington. Doesn't make a lot of sense. It didn't at first. It didn't make a lot of sense. But here's the thing about Westbrook. If you bring him to Washington in exchange for John Wall, the Rockets, honestly, that makes no sense for them to do that because one, John Wall is always injured. Two, he's very expensive, which the contracts will match, but he's very expensive. At least Westbrook is expensive. He's going to play hard. He might not always make the best decisions. He's going to play hard. And he's going to give you everything he's got. He's not going to miss many games, right? Like he missed a few games in the bubble last year. Before over the period of his career, the totality of his career, he's been pretty durable. He's not going to miss many games. But John Wall misses a lot of games all the time. Sometimes he comes in out of shape. So that right there is the best. I think Westbrook, I want him on the Knicks. I really, just for the soap, because the NBA is the biggest soap opera in sports, and just for the theatrics, just for the dramatic stuff, I want him to end up on the New York Knicks. And here's why. The New York Knicks, one, it's in New York. It's a great place to play. Obi Toppin with Russell Westbrook. Think about how exciting that'll be. Like, think about the high-flying dunks and alley-oops and all the crazy stuff that'll happen if Obi Toppin's running the wing on one side, RJ Barrett is running the wing on the other side, and Westbrook is driving full speed all the way down the court and dunking on people's heads, throwing alley-oops to Obi Toppin while he windmills. That will be showtime in New York. They ain't going to win a bunch of games, right? Like, they ain't going to win very many games. They ain't going to be that great. But that's going to be special. That's going to be fun to watch. Another reason why I want Westbrook in New York is because Kevin Durant's in Brooklyn. Why not have Westbrook at MSG and Kevin Durant at Barclays? The New York press, even during COVID, would go crazy. The New York press, even during COVID, would go crazy to see Westbrook going crazy with Obi Toppin and RJ Barrett at MSG, and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving telling us the earth is flat and shooting back at trolls on Twitter with burner accounts over at the Barclays. I'd love it. I want to see Westbrook in New York. I don't know if it happens, but I'd love to see that. But what do you think? What do you think about John Wall asking for a trade? It's simply because I don't get it. John Wall asking for a trade, I don't really understand it, to be honest. I'm like, John Wall, like over the last 3 years, maybe has played 82 games over the last 3 years. Maybe. I'm not even sure. I could probably look it up, but he hasn't played a lot of basketball. And he's very expensive. He does. John Wall's like 10 years in the NBA, right? Like, he's been in the league like 8, 9, 10 years, and he's still doing dumb stuff, like throwing up gang signs and hanging out with gangbangers out in DC or wherever the hell he's at. Like, what are you doing? You make $40 million in the NBA. Why in the hell are you hanging out with folks who got nothing to lose? Like, what are you doing, John Wall? Keep the comments coming because we're answering them. But what the hell's going on? Like, no, but John Wall makes $40 million a year. Like, invest some of that in your body so you can make sure you're able to stay healthy. Invest some of that in a shooting coach, because we a decade into the league and the league has passed you by. Your athleticism is still there. He's still a good player, but the shooting never came, and that's sad to see. So I wish John Wall would turn it up a little bit and get it together. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Keep the comments coming. We're answering them because we're talking basketball, man. Like, I love talking basketball, and we're talking about NBA free agency. The NBA offseason been crazy. I already said why the Lakers, I think they'll repeat because their roster just keeps getting better and better. But we're answering some questions too. We're keeping the comments coming. Fred got it out the mud. Hell yeah, Fred got it out the mud. Undrafted to $85 million contract. He got it. He damn sure got it out the mud. Fred VanVleet, shout out to him. You think the Nuggets go further this year? The Nuggets took a big loss. Jermaine Grant signed with the Pistons, and that hurts. Because if you watch the playoffs, like I watched the playoffs, Jermaine Grant was huge for them during the playoffs. He guarded Kawhi Leonard at time when he needed to. He guarded Paul George and shut him down. He really was a big catalyst in those 3-1 comebacks, both against Utah and against the Clippers. Jermaine Grant is a huge loss for them. But here's how the Nuggets can subsidize, like they can minimize it. It's if Michael Porter Jr. steps up his game. Michael Porter Jr., he's the most talented Nugget on their roster. Easily. He is easily the most talented Nugget. He's better than Jamal Murray, talent-wise. He's better than Jokic. He's damn sure better than Jermaine Grant. I really like Jermaine Grant for that team. He's damn sure better than him. Michael Porter Jr. has special written across his game, but he's got to untap that potential. He's scratching the surface. He's scratching it. But it's so much talent in that man. Like, I watch him play. His shooting stroke at 6'10", 6'10", he is special. He's got to get quicker on defense. He'd be looking lost out there on defense. Like on defense, Michael Porter Jr., folks just be running past him. He don't know what the hell to do. But his athleticism with his shooting stroke at 6'10", my guy, Montrezl Harrell, yeah, he put one on his head during the playoffs too. That meant he's going to have to, because now they don't have a choice because Grant's gone. Grant kind of saved them from having to use Michael Porter Jr. because Porter Jr. was not ready at times last year. He showed those flashes of being special that I saw, but he wasn't ready, and Jermaine Grant allowed them to kind of move him along slowly. Well, Grant's gone now. Grant wanted to go out to Detroit and be a big part of the offense. He wanted to go out and average 20 points a game. More power to him, and he got paid $20 million a year. Like, go out and do that. But Michael Porter Jr., the Nuggets can be even better this year if Michael Porter Jr. can step up like I think he can, because he is the most talented player on their team. I really think that can happen. Let's see. Stephen A. reporting Rockets trade James Harden to Wizards for John Wall, Troy Brown. Yeah, is that like breaking news or something? Because I haven't seen that. James Harden to the Wizards for John Wall. It's a horrible trade. That would be a horrible trade for. I haven't seen anything about that James Harden deal. I'm looking at it, but that would be a horrible trade to get. No, James Harden is going to Brooklyn. Like that's the thing about NBA players. I talked about this at one point. NBA players, when they want trades to certain teams, 9 times out of 10 it happens, right? They don't always get to determine when it happens, right? Like, so when Anthony Davis came out and said, "Hey, I want to go to the Lakers," where the hell he end up at? End up on the Lakers. Paul George, it was quiet, but it ended up happening. So went to the Thunder and said, "I want to end up on the Clippers." Where did he end up at? He ended up on the Clippers. It doesn't always happen when they wanted to. Anthony Davis wanted to get traded to the Lakers during the middle of the season. They waited to the offseason, but he ended up a Laker. Kyrie Irving wanted to get traded from, when they want to get traded, especially if they have a specific destination, a lot of times they end up going there. James Harden wants to go to Brooklyn. Now, how they're going to make that work in Brooklyn if they plan on keeping Kyrie Irving, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I want to see it. I definitely want to see him go to Brooklyn. I think if he ends up in Brooklyn, I think they win a championship. But I don't think they're going to trade him to the Wizards. I don't think James Harden is going to make that happen. What do you think of the Suns? The Suns, man, they've had a really big offseason. Going out and getting Chris Paul was huge for the Suns. Getting Chris Paul was big. Now, Chris Paul is 35 years old. Chris Paul has had injury problems in the past. So like that's gonna be something to watch. But Chris Paul with Devin Booker and with DeAndre Ayton, I like it. And then they picked up Jay Crowder. That's a silent, sneaky move. That's a silent, sneaky move, getting Jay Crowder, because he stretches the floor. He gives you another shooter. And the NBA is all about shooters nowadays. They're all about shooters. Getting Jay Crowder with Chris Paul and to pair with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, I think Chris Paul is going to make Ayton 10 times better. Just being there, he's going to make Ayton 10 times better. You got your pick and roll and just the leadership. I think Ayton needs to grow up a little bit. I think he's looking over in Dallas and seeing what Luka's doing and realize that he went ahead of Luka. And he's looking over in Atlanta and see what Trae Young's doing. And he went ahead of Trae Young. And he's kind of like, he's not where they need to be. He's not where he needs to be, looking at comparing to those two guys. Those guys are averaging 30. Not to say he's going to go out and average 30, but I think Chris Paul is going to make DeAndre Ayton 10 times better. I heard Miami released Kendrick Nunn. Did they? I don't think that's true. I think Kendrick Nunn was only a rookie. I don't know if they released Kendrick Nunn. That would be a bad move, because Kendrick Nunn is a really good basketball player. He showed it in the playoffs. Why do you think Chris Paul decided to go to Phoenix and not to a contender? Well, first of all, it was going to be hard for any contender to get Chris Paul. He makes $40 million a year. And man, $40 million a year to a 6-foot point guard at 35 years old, logically, doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of contending teams. It didn't make a lot of sense for Milwaukee, because that wasn't that's not a play. That's not a play to keep Giannis. Getting a 35-year-old Chris Paul who can be nicked up at times is not how you're going to keep Giannis around. It's just not. Went out and get a younger Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday's not Chris Paul. Don't get me wrong. But Drew Holiday can play both ends of the floor. He can get a bucket. The Milwaukee needed a guy specifically that can go out and defend people and get them a bucket. That's what Bledsoe couldn't do. Bledsoe's defense was slacking. He couldn't shoot. He couldn't get you no buckets when it mattered. They needed a guy to go out and get him a bucket. That's why they got Bogdan. Bogdan can get you a bucket late. Bogdan can make plays. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, guys. Keep the comments coming. We're answering them. We're going in. But back to Chris Paul. He can get you a bucket. He's a good player. I mean, not Chris Paul, Drew Holiday. And so Chris Paul going to Phoenix, he's in the twilight of his career. Chris Paul, he's collecting his checks. He's teaching young guys. I think Chris Paul will end up being a coach one day. I really do, because Chris Paul is so smart. He knows so much. Like, you don't make it in the NBA for as long as Chris Paul has made it, playing as high of a level as Chris Paul has played at 6 feet and not be this mental. Chris Paul is a 6-footer who's had some injuries, but doesn't score a bunch of points. Like, he can average between 16 and 19, twiddling with that 20 points per game. But we're talking about a 6-foot point guard who doesn't average over 20 points per game and has made it, 15, 16 years in the NBA. You don't make it that long without being special mentally. And that's what Chris Paul is going to bring to that Phoenix Suns team. Yeah, they're not going to be contending for a title, especially over in the Western Conference. It's still the Clippers and the Lakers and the Nuggets and all the, the Mavericks are up and coming. And a bunch of teams, they're going to be fighting for like a 4 or 5 seed, but they could host a playoff. They could host a playoff series in that 4 seed. I definitely like that. No repeat for the Lakers. Why not? AD can't stay healthy. He was hurt every other play. He won't last full season. He was pretty damn healthy this year. Anthony Davis was pretty healthy this year. You heal up a lot. You heal up a lot easier when you have a legit chance to win another championship. You heal a lot easier. Those injuries recover a little bit quicker when you have Montrezl Harrell, you have LeBron James, you have Dennis Schroder, you have KCP. Hey, shout out KCP. LeBron got him paid too. Clutch sport athlete, $40 million because of the way he played in the playoffs. $40 million. I'm gonna clap it up for KCP because he earned all 40 M's. He bet on himself, 1-year deal. I think he was making something chump change, $5 million a year. He bet on himself. He got himself a $40 million contract. What do you think the Knicks need to do to turn it around? I like the direction they're going. I posted on our blog the other day. I like the direction the Knicks are headed. The Knicks, it's just so much to do. Like, that's the thing. Like I said, I said this earlier in this video, people that are good at their jobs show it just like that. Like, when you're good at something, it doesn't take time to build up, to show. Like, it may take time for you to see some success, but it doesn't take time for you to be able to show that you're good at what you do. And I think Leon Rose is good at what he does. Even though this will be his first time as like a president/GM, him, Kenny Payne, they're getting a bunch of Kentucky guys up there in New York. That's the one thing that I've been noticing. They're signing a bunch of those UK guys up in New York. They drafted quickly. They're getting a bunch of UK guys. That's that Kenny Payne connection, getting on Nerlens Noel. Kenny Payne, he's in on all that. But I think Leon Rose, I like the direction that he's going. I think you should go out and try to make a play for Westbrook. Westbrook's on the market, and he probably is not going to cost you a whole lot in assets simply because he wants out, and Houston's trying to rebuild. I think you should try to go out and get Westbrook. But James Dolan has been running this thing into the ground for 20 years, right? So there's a lot to do in New York. There's a whole lot because James Dolan hasn't done a whole bunch of nothing for the last 20 years, running his organization into the freaking ground. So there's a lot to be building, but I like what Leon Rose, like the direction that he's doing. Can Wiseman help the Warriors without Clay? We talked about this a little bit. Wiseman is a good addition, but not having Clay, like, the Warriors aren't the same. Like, that's the thing about the Warriors. They literally revolutionized basketball. They sped the game up. They were the Phoenix Suns back the Steve Nash years and Amari Stoudemire years, which Steve Kerr, guys, forget about this. Steve Kerr was a part of that front office. Steve Kerr was like the GM during that time. He was in that Phoenix organization around that time. But they're like those Phoenix teams on steroids. Keep the comments coming. Keep them coming. We're going to do this. But they were like the Phoenix Suns on steroids. Steph, Clay, because when you have two of the best shooters the world has ever seen, you can do a little something. You can play basketball differently. And they got rid of centers because of the Warriors, right? Because of their just 5-out lineup, Draymond shooting and Andre Iguodala, but it was led by Steph and Clay. And if you have one and not the other, you're not the same team. You can't run stuff the same. Even with James Wiseman, I think James Wiseman is going to be a really good player, but they're not the same team without Clay. And Clay, and here's another thing people are forgetting. Clay takes on the best guard, the best wing on the other team. So if the best wing on the other team is a point guard, Clay guards him. If the best wing on the other team is a small forward, Klay guards him. If the best wing is giving Steph Curry buckets on the other team, Klay guards him. And that covers up a lot of Steph's flaws, which is on the defensive side. And not having Klay hurts. Not just the shooting, but his defense hurts. It hurts not having Klay. True facts. Definitely impressed the Lakers signing. The Lakers signing, here too many teams. Bron repeating. Nah, Bron's going to repeat, y'all. Bron's going to repeat, man. The Lakers have really went out and made some moves. Talking about Serge Ibaka signed with the Lakers. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Serge Ibaka is gonna want some money out on the market. Somebody's gonna pay. Somebody's gonna pay. They're gonna pay for Serge Ibaka. What about the Clippers? So the Clippers haven't done much, y'all. They lost JaMychal Green, who was a shooter who can make some shots. Obviously, they lost Montrezl Harrell to the Lakers, so that hurts. The Clippers haven't gotten better this offseason. They got Doc. They got Ty Lue. They got rid of Doc. They brought in Ty Lue. I don't think that changes much of anything. They re-signed the Morris twin. They gave him a big deal. That was a part of their wish list, so they re-signed him. But they haven't changed. They haven't changed much. The Clippers, they still have the same team. They're not gonna do like they did not get better this offseason. Now there's still some time to make some moves, but they missed out on Rondo. They lost Trez to the Lakers. They lost JaMychal Green, who was a good shooter, a stretch four for them. And Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are a year older. So I don't know. Like I didn't see them get better this offseason. Like that it hurts. That's gonna hurt. Not going out and signing anybody big and losing Trez to the Lakers, and the Lakers were able to get Dennis Schroder. That hurts, y'all. That's gonna hurt the Clippers. They're gonna struggle. They're gonna struggle. And like I said, I think the Nuggets can be better with Michael Porter's ascension. If Michael Porter ascends, you gotta remember, Michael Porter Jr. was the #1 player in high school. Like Michael Porter Jr. is 6'10" with a jump shot, 6'10" with bunnies, 6'10" who can block shots and rebounds like a mug. Like he averaged double-double. He can average you 20 and 10 easily. He's a rebounding machine. So the Nuggets are going to get better. Luka and the Mavs are going to get better. So the Clippers are going to have to make something happen if they plan on being the top of the Western Conference and overtaking the Lakers. But I don't see it. Because the other teams got better and the Clippers didn't. Doc should have been given one more chance. You lose 3-1, man. That's tough to come back from. You lose 3-1 for the third time, you got to go. like losing 3-1 one time in your career is horrible. Losing 3-1 3 times, and that's what Doc's done. Doc's lost 3-1 leads 3 times. You got to get up out of here, dog. You got to get up out of here. I'm sorry. AD can stay healthy. He just went a whole playoffs without getting hurt. Exactly. AD just went the whole playoffs without getting hurt. No severe injuries. AD, and he's got a chip, y'all. Like people play more relaxed when they win a championship. Look at LeBron's career after he won his first championship. What did he do? He kept winning. But I think Anthony Davis is an all-time great player, right? And all the all-time great players played better after they won a championship. Bron, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Shaq, Hakeem Olajuwon. Like they all played better. Steph, Clay, they all played better. Kawhi Leonard, they all played better after they won their first chip. And all of those guys went on to win more chips. Went on to win at least another one. And I think the best chance of Anthony Davis getting a second one will be this season. I definitely think it'll be this season. Serge just now signed with the Clippers. Oh, Serge Ibaka signed with the Clippers. Yeah, that's a good signing. That is a good signing. If the Clippers were able to get Serge Ibaka, I like that move because they had to replace Trez. And the thing about Serge Ibaka, get him and replace a Montrezl Harrell. I'm just fact checking you, big dog. I'm not saying that you're a liar. I just want to check it. But we're getting Serge Ibaka. LA Clippers 3 pitches to seal the deal. So I haven't seen it being confirmed. But if they're able to get Serge Ibaka, the thing about having Serge Ibaka over Montrezl Harrell is a dog, right? Like he gives you that fiery spirit. He's like in your face, dunking on you, screaming, mouthpiece and slobbering shit just falling, and like he just gets you hyped if you're a fan. but he doesn't stretch the floor. Besides is that he's very athletic, but he's almost like a dinosaur in the modern NBA because he doesn't really dribble and he doesn't shoot. Doesn't shoot very well. Serge Ibaka can shoot. So if the Clippers are able to land Serge Ibaka, which you're saying they have, I haven't seen the confirmed reports, but if they're able to get Serge Ibaka, that's a good pickup for them. Let's look at some of the keep the comments coming. We're answering them. Make sure you hit the like, share, subscribe button. Hit the share, subscribe button because we're gonna do this more often, man. We're gonna go live. We're gonna talk about basketball. We're gonna talk about the NFL on Sundays. Like we got a lot of stuff planned for the Black Boss channel. I want to make sure you guys are tuned into the Black Boss channel. Make sure you see that the Black Boss channel because that's what we do. We talk about sports. We talk about its brothers, black folks' thoughts on society, on sports, on everything. Let's see. Somebody asked about Tyson and Roy Jones. It's a week from tonight. So I talked about this one time. I'll mention this really quick. We're talking NBA talk right now, but I'll talk about Tyson and Roy Jones. Roy Jones is going to win, right? I'm picking upset. Roy Jones is going to beat Mike Tyson. Tyson's old. Both of them old. But Tyson, man, Roy Jones is going to win that fight. I'm going to just go ahead and do that. So it is confirmed. They saying that Serge Ibaka is confirmed that he signed with the Clippers. Like I said, that's a good signing, man. I really think that's a good signing for the Clippers to get Serge to stretch the floor because they lost Jermichael Green. That was their stretch forward. They lost him. He's gone. He signed with somebody else. I forgot. But getting Serge is a good pickup. You think Chris Stapps can be a problem? Chris Stapps got to stay healthy, man. Chris Stapps is a good NBA player. I think if Chris Stapps would have stayed healthy, they would have upset the Clippers. The Mavs would have upset the Clippers in the first round. They wouldn't have had to wait to the second round to get upset by the Nuggets. But if Chris Stapps, first of all, Dallas has to figure out what they want to do with Chris Stapps. Either they have to figure out what they want to do with him, or he's got to figure out a way to play better with Luka. Because right now it's not working. It works kind of, but it doesn't work the way it should. Chris Stapps is a really good player, and Luka is a phenomenal player. But them two together should be better. They should work better together. It's like Chris Stapps plays better when Luka isn't on the floor. But regardless, Chris Stapps stays hurt all the damn time. That does nothing for the Mavericks. Him being hurt all year, every year, does not make them better. So they need to get Chris Stapps healthy. And if that happens, I think the Mavericks are going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem with Luka Doncic anyway, because nobody in the NBA can guard Luka Doncic. like he's like one of the most unguardable players in the league. Triple-double walking. 42 points walking. But if they can get Chris Stapps healthy, man, I like their move. Now you're saying that Ibaka's way better than Trez and Green. I don't know that. I don't know if he's way better than Trez and Green. Because Trez, Ibaka can play soft at times, man. Ibaka can, he's a stretch. He's a stretch four, but he can play really soft at times. And but he can shoot. That's the one thing. He can really shoot. But I don't know if he's better than Trez and Green. I don't know if I'm gonna go that far. Well, I'd be lying. Be lying about what? Did I think Roy Jones is gonna win? Are you talking about that fight? I really do think Roy Jones is gonna win. But yeah, that's some of the stuff, man. I'm glad you guys were tuned in with me, man. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. Once again, I'm Jeff Lightsy Jr. with the Black Boss Channel. We're gonna do these lives more often, man. We're gonna do them more often. We're gonna talk NFL. We're gonna talk NBA. We're going to talk all kinds of sports, all kinds of stuff. I'm going to have some more panels going this week, so be sure to subscribe to the blackbosschannel.com. We're going to have a lot of great stuff. Thank you, guys. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. Once again, I'm Jeff Lightsy Jr. with the Black Boss Channel. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for rocking with me.